My name's Brian. I got two kids, a daughter and a son. One lives real close here, and the other one lives in Texas.
My name's Michael. I'm the father of 4 children, adults, 6 grandchildren. I wish we had more than 6 grandchildren, but que sera, sera. I thought having 4 ourselves, if we had 4 children, we'd have 16 grandchildren, but the 6 we have, they are special.
I'm Inderpal Bhatia, and I am a father of 2 wonderful children. A daughter, she's in the mid-50s, and a son who is over 50 as well.
I mean, both kids were very successful in school. They were, they did well, and they're still doing well. And I guess that's the best thing. It's been positive all the way through.
I feel proud that I provided them a home and environment to grow, and they are both independent, doing well, and I have 2 grandsons through my daughter.
Proud to say that all 4 of our children are successful, happy, and healthy. Proud of all of them.
I think one of the most important things that a father does, or a parent does, is helping kids, especially when you get a little older, just helping them try to figure out what's their good fit in life. What are they going to be good at? What do they want to do? What are they going to be passionate about? And the question is, how do they figure that out? And how can you support them to do this? And it's partly going to school. It's partly just exploring things, and sometimes, and this is the point about being challenging, sometimes it's exploring things that don't seem on the face of it to make a lot of sense. But in the end, everybody's different, and you want them to find what's their good fit in life.
My father and mother let me make my own mistakes. And it's not easy. I appreciate what they did, and because of that's the way they let me make my own mistakes. Looking back on it, I don't know how they did it, but because of their allowing me to make mistakes, I've allowed my children to do the same. And it's frustrating when you know they're making the wrong decision. Keep your mouth shut, let them go. They'll pay the piper or whatever, learn a lesson. That's been the most difficult part.
I had a very strange growing up. I mean, I grew up in a family where my dad's business failed. I couldn't go to college. I ended up with a business. I didn't go to undergraduate school till my late 20s. And, my life was always kind of strange. So it's been very satisfying, and my life kind of took shape when I was about 30-ish, and my daughter was born when I was doing research in Thailand, and we've had it's been an interesting, really interesting life, but getting married and having kids and all was a very important part of bringing it all together after it had been in such chaos for so long.
I remember when I got the phone call that my wife was pregnant. I happened to be in New York on business. I got a phone call from Kay. She just left the doctor's office. We're gonna be parents. We're gonna have a baby. Back then we didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. It was a baby. From that moment on, times 4, when I got on an airplane, I thought differently. When I crossed the street in New York with the cabs flying, I thought differently. It changed me that this isn't just me in this world. I'm gonna have a baby, and then another baby, another baby. So that's the biggest thing that I changed in my life, was mentally being more careful, thinking twice, not being selfish and doing things that may not be good for the kids. I have to confess that the first 20 years of our children's lives, which was the reason I was a father, I have to admit I was not a good father because I was an absent father. Looking back on it, I didn't realize it at the time, but I was working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, loved what I was doing professionally, and I just didn't realize that I was missing out on a lot of things that I see with my grandchildren, the things that, the time I spend with my grandchildren. I feel I wished I had done the same for my kids. Thankfully, my wife was a fabulous mother. She made up for my absence. But other than that, I have no regrets. I loved being a father. The things I did right, I enjoyed every minute. It's just looking back, I should have been there for them much more than I did.
Provide them an environment and encourage them to achieve the best they can.
I spent lots of times talking to the friends. And you know, when you know your kids' friends and that's who they're with when they're not with you, if you like what you see, you're not worried about your kids. I assume if I didn't like those kids they were hanging out with or their friends, I would have been worried. I wasn't worried because I knew their friends really well. So my advice, know your children's friends.
Well, I think a big piece of advice is listen to the kids. What I said earlier, you know, an awful lot of what parents can do is help their kids find their way in life. And life has so many options, and people are so different. And kids grow up, and sometimes the relations between the kids can be kind of testy. But you gotta. That's just things to deal with, and that's the way people are.
I have enjoyed every minute of it. From day one, I've tried to participate in activities with my children. My daughter played soccer. I took her to every game. I've traveled the entire world, and we really have had a great life.
Our first was 12 years old. He was ready to think about having a bar mitzvah. I'm not going to take time to explain a bar mitzvah, but one of the things about a bar mitzvah is that's a day where a Jewish boy or girl has all the glory in the world. The whole world is looking at them. They're the center of attention, and it's their day. Now, my son's 12 years old, our oldest, Todd. We got in the car to go to the temple to meet with all the parents of the 12-year-olds to pick the date for the bar mitzvah on their 13th birthday. But you had to pick a day so that not all the kids were getting bar mitzvah the same weekend. So we're sitting in this library with all these parents and all these 12-year-old kids. And on the way to that meeting, our son, Todd, said, "Dad, why weren't you bar mitzvahed?" And I explained to him when I was 12 years old, Reformed Jewish boys and girls for sure, there was no such thing back then as a bat mitzvah. Our rabbi and the Reformed movement didn't believe in bar mitzvahs, so me and all of my peers, we just weren't bar mitzvahed. His next question was, "Dad, do you wish you had been bar mitzvah?" I said, "Oh my God, of course. I've been to hundreds since then." And every time I watch the bar mitzvah or the bat mitzvah person, I sit there in awe of what they have accomplished and so on at 13 years old. So we get to temple, we walk in the library, we're there with all these people. The rabbi's talking and we're picking dates, and all of a sudden my son tapped me on the shoulder and gave me a note. Dad, will you be bar mitzvahed with me? Now, that was the first time in the history of our temple that father and I accepted immediately. And that was the first bar mitzvah of a father and son in that. But that moment that he asked me, I knew he was an adult in the Jewish religion. He became an adult by asking me that question. He didn't have to wait and study for a year. He was a man. He was a mensch. That's one thing about my being a father. It's one of the highlights. I probably have a highlight about all four, but that is the highlight of all. And he and I, by the way, were bar mitzvah together, which was an unbelievable evening. With my father, who was very sick at the time, sitting there watching his son and grandson be bar mitzvah. Speaking of my father, Father's Day, unfortunately he had esophageal cancer, had his larynx removed, so he couldn't talk for the last 2 years of his life. But the good part of that is, instead of talking to me, he wrote me notes and letters and so on and so forth. And I have this letter from my dad, this note from my dad. Michael, if I haven't mentioned it many, many times, I want you to know that in my book, you are one hell of a man. Love, Dad. These are the two Father's Day things that, how do I explain that? I've been very fortunate with my father and my 4 children and their children. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to all fathers and upcoming fathers.